Good morning, everyone. It's me. It's Tommy Christian with Sweet Tea Designs. I'm finally getting to do a live with you guys about something. And so if you've watched the one that I posted just the other day, it kind of explains why I've been a little absent lately. But I want to just jump right into today's. I'm going to be doing a sublimation tumbler using no shrink wrap and using a convection toaster oven. So we're just going to jump right in. I'm going to kind of tilt you guys down, and we're going to start with a few little different things here, and then we'll get into all of the explanations. I've got my toaster oven warming up back here, and so we're just going to get started. So I'm using one of, it's going to be a 20-ounce straight skinny. I bought this on tumblerbulk.com. I bought a case of 30 for about $188, $190, I think. So when you about average it up, it's about $6-ish per cup. And so far they work great for me. I did a couple of little test runs yesterday, and everything turned out great. So here we go. I'm going to take, it comes in these cool little plain white boxes, which you can reuse to ship it or, deliver it or whatever you're going to do. So I'm going to set that to the side. They also come with the plastic straws, and the cups come in these little plastic baggies here inside the box. So that's nifty. I like that. And then I'm going to take the lid off, stick it back in the box so that I know where it's at. And I like to start by using alcohol to clean it up, just to make sure there's nothing else on it, nothing, that might prevent the design from sticking or, something like that. And I just give it a good clean. The good thing I like about these is they don't have that little sticker circle right here either. I don't have to forget to take that off because I did. And I just give it a once over. Now I'm very new to sublimation. I'm just going to show you guys what I have done and what has worked for me in my little test runs. So if you also have any more tips or tricks, please comment, send me a message, however you want to do that. And let me know anything that you do or anything like that. And so I'm going to scoot you guys back because I'm going to need a little bit of room right here. I am using the Epson Workforce 7210 printer. I did have to convert it. It was a pretty simple process. There's several videos out there that will show you how to do it and what you need. I ordered it from Amazon. Yeah, Amazon. And I want to say it was around $300, which is pretty much the middle ground there. It is a wide format printer, which means that it will print up to 13 by 19. And like I said, there are other YouTube videos out there that show you how to convert it to a sublimation printer. And it was an easy process. It was no big deal. The only thing that I had, the only problems that I had was when I did the test papers, after I put the ink in and everything, getting everything calibrated correctly and everything, is I had to do it about 6 times to get everything lined up just right. And I almost pulled my hair out because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm wasting paper, but it really wasn't a big deal. It took, like I said, about 5 or 6 times and everything lined up right. And so that was the only problem that I've had so far. Now, when I did try to do a 13 by 19 image, and I'll get into that in a minute, you have to go into your settings and on your computer and redo a few things. And so we're fixing to talk about all that here in just a second. I've got my heat tape. I also ordered that off of Amazon, pretty cheap. I've got my tumbler, and I am using a sublimation print paper. This is the 8.5 by 11. I also have the 13 by 19. I did not order the in-between size, but I'm sure it works just as well. But here is my image that I'm going to be doing, because I don't have a lot of men's tumblers right at the moment, and so I decided to show you guys what this is going to look like using a men's tumbler. Like I said, I printed this on the 11.5 by or 8.5 by 11 sheet. I do have some white overhang that is just for sizing and lining up for now, and I will cut the excess off here in just a minute. But I do want to go over a couple of things when you're printing. With this printer, specifically that I know of, when you go to hit print, you can't just say, okay, print, and then it do right. You want to make sure that when I use Inkscape, as far as the design software, it's free, and it works just fine for me as far as sizing wise and all that. I sized this, and I'll show you how to do that. It is 9.5 wide by 8 tall. So what I did in Inkscape, instead of using the vertical way, because you can't go 9.5 wide this way. So I flipped the image, and then you want to make sure that you mirror the image. With this one, it really didn't matter because the image is basically the same either way, but I wanted to make sure that I reminded you guys to do that. Make sure that you mirror your image. Otherwise, it will not go on it'll be backwards on your cup, because you're gonna put it on like this and not like this. And so when you go in with your settings, make sure that I had my little notes here. I wanted to make sure I went over everything with you. On my computer specifically, I use Windows 10, and I have an HP computer or laptop. You go into your preferences. When you hit the print button, the little page will come up, and it'll give you all your little settings and everything. You go into your preferences, and you make sure that your paper source is correct. If you're printing out of one of the 2 trays, this printer has 2 trays, and I'll try to show you my printer here in just a second. It's the black one, the 7210. But anyway, it has two bottom trays, the first one and the second one. And then if you want to do the bigger sizes, you have to do it in the back loader part. So when you go in and do your paper source, make sure that either your backload is turned on, or whichever way you're doing it. Because if you do the auto settings, it's liable to, excuse me guys, I've got something in my throat. It's liable to print it out of the wrong tray. Make sure that your paper type is the correct that you want. If you're using special papers, it'll give a list of different things. Make sure it's set correctly. I have found that I just keep mine on plain paper, and it works just fine. Also, make sure that your document size is correct, whichever size that you're using, whether it's legal, whether it's letter, and then it gives you a big long list of different size papers. So make sure that's correct when you go in, and you do have to change it every time. When you go from the bigger to the smaller, either way, you have to change all of that. So make sure that you set yourself a reminder for that. Also, when you load this printer, I found out the hard way, when you load it, you're going to pull out your cassette drawer for your paper. And what I do is, if I'm doing however many tumblers that I'm doing, I put that many sheets of sublimation paper in there, because I will forget that I have sublimation paper in there, and I will print a plain document or print something else on sublimation paper. Now, I will recommend that you only use this printer for sublimation or special projects because of the ink. It's not super expensive at all, and I think you get around, it says 2 years worth of ink out of the bottles and the cartridges and everything. But you don't want to waste specialty ink on something that's not a special project. So, but still, there's times where I'm rushing and I forget things, and it just, and so if you want to use a separate printer like I do for plain projects, plain text, different things like that, make sure you go into your print settings and change your printer to the correct one. Because I did that yesterday and ran a regular project through my sublimation printer on accident. Also, I have done a little bit of research on sublimation also, and you can use regular copy paper for sublimation. Sometimes, though, and depending on your fabric and what you are sublimating, it does not turn out as bright. You can do it, and it does work, but it just different things may not turn out as bright as they normally would. So with all of that being said, and that is with all of my research that I've done and test runs and practice runs and, and all of that, we're going to dive right into this specifically. I may have to go off camera here in just a minute to cut this. But I'm going to show you guys first how I measure my cup, and I'm going to show you why I do the measurements how I do them. So what I do is I take my tape. I've got one of these little seamstress tape measures here, and I go around the cup. This will be your wideness. And I meet at the 0. It looks to be right at 9.5. Exactly. With maybe just a tad overhang, but not much at all. You want them to meet because you want to pull this paper super duper tight. And then I go, so I've got 8.5 wide. So I start with the 0 at the top, and I go down, and I'm at 8. I'm sorry. I was wrong about that. That is, shoot, come here. I was reading my tape measure wrong. That is 9.5. I'm so sorry. Yes, because I have it wrote down, and I was thinking that's not right. But, okay, so 9.5 around, which is your width. So make sure that you flip your image like this, going long ways on your paper so that you can get the width that you need. Also, so we're going to do the height now, and it goes right to the 8 at the very bottom, with almost right there. So that's how I measure that, and like I said, I did 9.5 wide by 8 tall, so that it gives me just enough space to do this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my tumbler and I'm going to wrap it. I'm going to line my image up at the top, make sure that it's straight, and I'm going to that everything is correct. Okay, it's going to line up. I've got to straighten it just a little bit here, get it better lined up. In the end, okay, so this is my little trick that I found out. All right, I'm right-handed, so I will start like this. Make sure your image is top to bottom also. So I'm going to start on this side. I will leave this white right here because I like a little bit of overhang and room to tape. I've seen videos where people have like pulled those seams directly together and then taped it, and I can't do that. I want to make sure that I pull it super tight and that I have some hangover. So with that being said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this white part so that it's not laying on the tumbler, so that I don't have that white there. I'm going to cut that white off, and I'm going to cut this white and this white. I'm going to leave this one for overhang. So I'm going to go cut that real quick and I'll be right back. You can probably see me right here. My cutter's right here. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so here we go. This also shows me which direction I want to start and what side I want to start. So here we go. I'm going to get this lined up just right. And I'm going to hold it with both hands. And I'm going to pull this paper as I go. Okay, I'm just a tad crooked. Okay, let's see. Feel a little air bubble, so like I said, you want to pull. You want to hold it super, super tight. All right, so here's a little overlap. That way you do not have a visible white seam. It overlaps, and that way your seam is not showing. I'm just a tad crooked, so I'm going to start over. Results will be great. All right, what I do when I get it lined up, got to find my tape seam here. Well, shoot. Come on now, there it is. Okay. Pull it super, super tight. As tight as you can get it. And like I said, I overlap just a little bit. Okay, now you've got that taped, and what I do, take my tape, my heat tape here, and I do strips so I can pull it tight. Okay. And then another little strip. I've seen a method also where they go back over their heat work, but this method also it, and so I'm just not going to use it. I'm not going to waste the tape. So then once I get it stripped down just in pieces, I take my tape here. And I don't like a tape dispenser either because you can't pull it tight. I take my tape at the top of the seam, I push down, and I pull it really, really tight and lay it really tight. Okay. Now, here is another, oh, I want to take my tape. And go in the same direction that I overlapped. I'm going along just to make sure that there's no sticking up, no air bubbles. Same thing that I did at the top to the bottom. You want to go in the same direction that you wrapped, that you're overlapped. And I usually start with a piece just underneath the top, just to give it something tight as you're going. I wish it really showed how tight that I was pulling this. And then, like I said, you just go up from there. Usually the bottom takes a little bit more tape because it doesn't have, you usually use a little bit more tape on the bottom. And make sure you don't have any air pockets, air bubbles, spaces, your summation sticking to that part. And again, you want to, I can't stress enough how much you really, really want to pull this. And you want to flatten it down really well on the bottom, and you want to smooth everything out. Push against that seam really, really good. Okay, so we have that finished. And what we'll do now is tilt you guys up just so that you can kind of see where I'm at and what I'm doing. I'm using a KitchenAid convection toaster oven. I have my settings set on bake at 375, and then the timer it's to the on position. So when you get ready to turn your timer on for your cup, you just switch it over. If you don't have that knob turned to the on position, your oven will not heat. And then the toaster button is off. So what I like to do is, let me grab my cup here. I got that toaster oven actually at a flea market. I plugged it in before I left the flea market, before I bought it, made sure it worked. Everything works, and I've done, I think, 3 test cups in it, and so far everything's done well. So like I said, it's set at 375, and I will put it in the timer for 5 minutes. I like to put a sheet of paper on the rack so that the rack does not stick to my paper, my sublimation paper in my cup. Okay, so I'm going to show you another thing that I've also learned, of course. I've seen people buying the heat-resistant gloves, and that's great. I know they're not really super expensive, but I also don't feel like just buying one thing for one specific thing is worth any amount of money for me. If I can cut it, I'm going to cut it. And so I had these rubber oven mitts in my kitchen. And I'm sure you know, just like when you're cooking and you're using your regular oven, you can use oven mitts or whatever you have around the house. I personally don't feel like you have to buy specific heat resistant gloves. That's just me. But like I said, I had these little rubber oven mitts in my kitchen. They're older, and so I just grabbed them, and this is what I'm going to be using. So I'm going to lay these back here so that I don't forget to put them on. I also found out, too, yesterday while doing all of this, that you need a specific place that you can set your tumbler to cool when you bring it out of the oven. Because, and I'm going to tell you why I had a blooper yesterday. I have this little plastic tablecloth sitting under my press and around in different areas. It's huge. And so I cut it into pieces. I've got one underneath my epoxy cart here. It's on the floor there. And I have one up here just so that I don't scratch my table or dent anything, just for protection of things so I don't drip epoxy all over the floor, that kind of thing. Now, I do have it cut right before you get to the, in between the press and the toaster oven, because I found out yesterday that it will melt with that, of course, with that high pressure heat. So what I did, I took my tumbler out of the oven and I flipped it upside down and set it on top of this. It melted to the rim of the cup, which it was okay because there's tape around the rim. So I just pulled the tape off and it was fine. But that's also a suggestion. Have a place. So what I did, if you see that little white rack there, this right here, I'll show it to you. This little rack right here, it's super tiny. I think I got it at the dollar store. I've had it for a long time. It's had several miscellaneous, functions, but I set it over here to the side and I flipped my cup upside down and set it on top of that to cool off. And so that is what I did with that. I'm trying to think of anything else while it is doing its thing over there. You seen me clean with the alcohol. I have alcohol everywhere for all my tumblers. I use that to prep all of my tumblers and everything else. I would show you the two that I got to come out that turned out perfect yesterday, but I already had those packaged and ready. Also, if you are on Facebook, you can look up my page. It is Sweet Tea Designs, capital SWEET with a capital T and then capital D for designs. And this is logo. If you see the profile picture, this is logo for that. I had an awesome woman create that for me when I just a few months ago, because that was before I started playing around with designing logos and different things myself. I'm still learning about that, so I'm not doing that as a paid project currently. I'm still learning all of that. I'm just now getting into sublimation and everything. I was using my Cricut Explore Air 2, which I still do, and I was doing all the vinyl and HTV and all that stuff, and so I wanted to branch out. My area is super duper small. I live in a town of 1,000 people, period. The nearest Walmart is at least 30 to 45 minutes in both directions. So I'm surrounded by nothing around here. And because we're so small, everyone's got a side hustle. So there's a lot of things going on around my area. And so I wanted to branch out. I heard it ding, so let's go check this out. We'll set it on the rack, and I'll keep talking. I want to show you guys something that I have also learned. This is super hot, and I'm hoping you can tell. Maybe not. It did bleed through. You can see the paper. So as far as I can tell, that means that it has worked. Oh, and your glove is going to be hot. I like to make sure my oven is unplugged and turned off, because I will forget it over there and go do something else, and it will be over there hot, and then here goes a fire. And so I'm going to do a rundown again of all the materials that I used and everywhere that I got it. Again, I got the tumblers in these are plain white boxes, which are also great for if you do your own labels, your own decorations, personalized boxes, anything like that. These are great for that. They come with these cool little lids. I like those. They also come with these packaged plastic straws, which are really awesome. I like the whole setup. And like I said, I got them from tumblerbook.com and shipped tumbler. I want to say, well, I say a long time, about a month now. I've had trouble getting them. And so I had to order what I could. And if you don't do it in bulk, they are a little bit more expensive. They're around $7, $8-ish per cup if you do not order in bulk. So there is a suggestion there. I like to order in bulk. That way I don't have to worry about it for a little while. So there's those. Heat tape. I got that on Amazon. The printer. The ink. And I can show you the ink that I'm using also. This is the ink that I'm using. I'll put it down in there, and sometimes when you get a little low, it's not long enough. So you have to kind of tilt your ink, which is a problem, but you do have to be careful when you tip your ink that you don't spill it everywhere. And my fingers were black for 3 days, and I scrubbed and scrubbed. So if you get these, just know that you want to wear gloves and know that little trick, and you'll be fine. And the process of converting this printer was super easy. Like I said, I watched a few videos, figured out how to do it, and it went pretty smooth, other than the black bottle got all over my fingers, and my fingers were black for a week, for days. But that is my ink. Oh, I wanted to show you guys one more thing with the ink here. I have only filled up. When you convert, you're going to need the refillable empty cartridges. It's going to come with ink. You're not going to want to use that. I put it up. It's still prepackaged, everything. I may want to sell it later, or I may want to use it for some, for this printer later. So I just put it up and, didn't worry about it. But I did want to show you guys, okay, the black cartridge that you will get is bigger than the other 3 cartridges that you're going to get. And you can't really tell in this bottle because the bottle itself is black. And it's not going to show on here. Something popped back there. Made me nervous. Okay. But I filled up the black ink cartridge, and the bottle is about right here. That's how much ink I have left after filling the black. And I have a feeling that I will have to order black before I do any other. Possibly. We'll see. I'm trying to see which one that you can see the best. It comes with the black, the cyan, the magenta, and the yellow. The yellow you can see. See, I didn't use hardly any of that ink. So hopefully this lasts me for a while. My other printer is an HP OfficeJet 3830. It works great for my regular, prints, when I'm doing flyers or something like that for personal use, or my monthly paperwork or whatever. And I want to say it was about 30 or 40 bucks for the whole printer. Not a big deal. I enrolled in the HP Insta Ink, which means I get charged around $5 a month, and it is hooked to my computer, and my computer tells the HP people when my ink is getting low, and they automatically send me new ink. So I don't have to worry about, oh no, I'm in the middle of a project, I'm running low on ink, and now I've got to run to the store and I've got to have this project out, in a week. Or, I have to have this project out, today. So that's very convenient. I would suggest doing that if you're using that printer. Now, I do still use that printer also for print and cut iron-on, which is pretty cool. It's a little bit like sublimation. You get the transfer paper, the print and cut heat transfer paper. I'll show you what that looks like. I order these off of Amazon. This is for light colored shirts. This works great on whites and grays. When you use this right here, you can put a white background on your image and have your Cricut just cut a square or a circle or whatever it is, just the outline of whatever you're wanting. It doesn't go, after you flatten your image, of course, and it'll cut the edges. And then the edges will disappear. The white images on the white shirt and the gray, you want to use a light gray shirt for this. And the white goes away. Now, the difference with this and this is, I'm trying to see if you can see it. Okay, this is for dark images, or dark shirts, I'm sorry. Now, what I do not like about this is, and I figured out a way around it, but it is a little difficult. You can't just put, say, a white box around this and have your Cricut just cut out the box instead of cutting out every little tiny little thing. You can't do the white box around it or the whatever. You have to, because the white, it will show up a white box across the shirt. So just know that. Also, but the way that I found around this is if I'm using a specific image and I don't want to, because if you're doing letters, like I said, your Cricut will cut out every letter, and then you will have to peel that off and line that up specifically. It's not attached. So what I found out to do is I use the offset function in Cricut Design Space. It puts the little outline around your design, and it looks really neat and really professional. And it will only cut out that outline. And make sure when you do the offset that you flatten that image. Make sure your offset and your image are all one. Make sure it's flattened together, and then it will just cut out around the offset image. So there's a couple of little neat tricks of the trade that I have used. You can also do that with your water slides. When I use clear, just like on the white heat transfer, when I use clear water slides, I don't worry about the background as much because usually it won't show up. Excuse me. Usually with water slides also, unless you are using the white water slides, you just cut around the image and lay it on and it's fine. If you use the white water slides, you want to make sure that you have that border and when you cut it. Otherwise, everything will show up. The white and everything will show up. So those are a couple of tricks. Same thing with your stickers also. If you use sticker paper, the white will show up. So I use all of that different stuff on different tumblers and different designs and different shirts. If I have someone that wants a sublimated colored shirt, I usually use the dark transfers because you cannot use, or I have not found out how to use sublimation for dark colored shirts yet. I know there's a way. I've heard about it, but I have not figured it out yet. So when I do, I will let you guys know. But these are handy to have around. I don't use these all the time. Usually I use these for smaller projects, or like I said, if someone wants a specifically dark shirt for sublimation, they want one full image. The problem with these is you are limited to your size. And I'll show you what I mean. Okay, this is the size. Okay, this is the 8.5 by 11 sheets. Okay, if you have a person with a 3X shirt, even 2X shirts sometimes look super small. Now this looks okay as a regular image across here, but you do not want to run it through Design Space when you do this. You want to just print your image directly from the file on your computer. If you are customizing an image in Design Space, I'll tell you what you need to do. If you customize an image in Design Space, I have found out that you can save it to your computer. What you do is you click at the top left corner and remove your grid lines. Then you zoom out to where your image is the only thing in that little white space, or to where you can see your entire image. Okay. Then if you have Windows 10, you go in over here at the bottom left side to your little Windows button. You go up and you have a snippet tool. It looks, on mine, it looks like a pair of scissors with a little red ribbon in it. Okay, you go to that, and I added it to my bottom toolbar. When you do that, it's always available. It's there for all kinds of things. I have used it so much since I found out about this. I actually had to YouTube that. There is a YouTube video about that too. Not from me, but I learned it from, I'm so sorry. I can't remember whose video it was that I watched. I'm really bad with that stuff because I go through and I click and I watch, and then I get down a rabbit hole and I don't remember anything about all that. So, but there is a snip tool. I added it to my bottom toolbar. And what you do is you take that snip tool. It'll come up a little gray screen, and it has two little blue boxes with one has like a little drop down arrow. You hit that drop down arrow and it'll say snip now, snip in 3 seconds, or snip in 5 or 10 seconds or whatever. I do snip now. And then it'll come up this little, and the gray box will pop down, will go away. And then you'll have the little crosshairs, and you take it and you, just like you're going to crop your image, your screen will be a little like shaded. So, but what you do is you take that cursor and you do it just like you're going to crop that image, and it crops it from your screen. And then you can have the option to save it and edit it and whatever else you want to do to it. Once you snip it, it snips. So now you can exit out of it or redo it or whatever, but what you highlight is what you're snipping. And so when you do that, make sure that you have everything in view in screen. And then you can save it, and then a little gray thing pops back up and you can edit and all that stuff. So there's a handy dandy another little trick. Also, when you want to, so when you save it, it saves to your computer. You can bring it back up, you can edit it, and you can print it however big, small. I put mine in Inkscape, and that's how I edit it and size it and everything. I have not learned everything about Inkscape so far. I've really only used it to resize images so that they're not blurry and messed up. So those are my tricks that I'm learning so far. If anyone ever has any other suggestions, please let me know. So I'm going to go check this tumbler here real quick and see if it's cooled off enough so that I can quit yammering about everything to y'all. Okay, yes, it has cooled to the touch, completely cool. So I'm going to start here. Let's see. And I'm just going to, you just peel that tape away. Well, come on now. Okay. There's that. Well, I said just pull the tape away. Evidently, I stuck this stuff on here pretty good. Okay. This is only, I mean, this is not by far the miniest cup I've done. So hopefully it turns out right. So once you get your tape off, you peel your paper away. And there you go. There is your sublimated tumbler. Perfect. The bottom is lined up just right. I have just a little bit of a, area there. It's not a bad area. It's just, where the edge is. I like that clean, crisp, white edge. And I have just a small white rimmed edge at the top. Nothing major. But there it is. It's very, I wish you guys could see how bright that color is on there. It is super duper bright and colorful. There's where I overlapped. You can see just a straight seam. I like that about this. The seam, you don't have the white gap because I'm not trying to pinch it together and hope that it comes together and then accidentally have little white spots. I left a tad bit of overhang. It's not going to hurt. And here's the paper where you can see the little bit of overhang where the image overlapped that paper. And so you have a really pretty seam. So that's another trick of the trade today. And this, I do not have hardly any ink left on my paper. And so that means it adhered really well. And so what I do from here, I just take a paper towel. You do not have to epoxy this unless you want to do something else to this cup. Don't try to stick your hand in there. I forgot myself for a second. But I just wipe it down real good, make sure there's nothing sticking to it, make sure there's, no dirt, dust, whatever. And then if I want to package it up, which I'm going to put the lid on it anyways. If I want to package it up, put the lid, I put it in this little plastic thing to keep the cardboard box from rubbing. And then I stick it down in the cardboard box. The straws do not fit in the box with the cup. So I just tape it to the side. I slap my logo on the box and it's ready to go. So this was super, super, super easy. And a lot less time consuming than epoxy and glitter and all of that. Now I still do that. And if a customer wants that, I'm happy to oblige, but I'm not spending a whole lot of money on epoxy anymore. So kudos for that. I'd rather spend money on paper than money on epoxy and paper because I use papers for my tumblers. I use water slides and all kinds of stuff for tumblers. So this is literally the printer, ink, the tumbler itself, the paper, and the oven. And the tape. I mean, that is it. You don't have to have the glitters. You don't have to have the micas, the glow in the darks, the alcohol inks, none of that. Now, I will tell you, I did buy this image on Etsy. I want to say it was $4 for the image. Gosh, that's so not showing up on the computer how bright that is. That is super duper bright. Maybe if I do this. Yeah, you can tell the color really stuck. It's very, very pretty. But anyways, I did buy this image off of Etsy. I want to say it was $4. And then I have it forever. Unless my computer crashes and I lose all my downloads. I have bought this image. and I can use it over and over and over again. So that's another advantage with sublimation over regular tumblers with epoxy. Now, if you do the epoxy tumblers like I do also, they're super fun. They're super cute. You can do a lot of 3D images. You can do the little cup toppers. You can do all kinds of stuff with the epoxy method and everything. And I'm not hating, and I love the epoxy method also. But if your customer wants just a plain Jane smooth, here you go cup, this is the way to go. Because like I said, I have this image saved and I can use it over and over and over and over again. So this is what it is. And like I said, you do not have to epoxy over this image. And I like that because this is super flat. It is, the cup is not heavy. Like if you continue to add layers of epoxy and stuff, it starts to get a little heavy. And my epoxy sometimes has issues. I get fish eyes, I get ripples, I get, a lot of times I don't, but there are chances of all of that. So I don't like the fact, I don't want to put epoxy over this and risk this very smooth, very gorgeous, very beautiful cup having fish eyes or ripples or whatever, separation issues. You get all of that with epoxy. You do not get that with this. So that's another advantage. I'm gonna leave that out. So I want to say that's it. These tumblers are also hand wash. You don't want to stick that in a dishwasher. But I want to say that's it, guys. I was super stoked when I found out that I didn't have to buy the shrink wrap, because in my research before I bought everything, I went through, I watched videos, I've done a lot of research, and I wrote down everything that all these people were telling me that I had to have. And I am, again, a money pincher, penny pincher, saver, whatever. If I don't have to have it, I'm not going to buy it. And so I was super excited when I found out, number one, that you could use a toaster oven, because I want to say you can buy them at Walmart for like $35. Because at first I was seeing a lot of people use regular cook stove ovens, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to find a used one, it not work, and then spend hundreds of dollars and all this. I did not want to do that. And I didn't want to use mine, because once you use an oven for this, you cannot use it again for cooking, because the inks let off a gas, and that gas, you don't want that in your food. So whatever type of oven that you use, you can use a regular oven, but whatever type of oven you use, you cannot use it again for cooking. So I was super stoked when I found out that you could use the convection oven. I found that one at a flea market. I want to say $20. No big deal. We plugged it in before I left, made sure it worked. Everything went good. And then also I watched a video, and you didn't need the shrink wrap. Just make sure that you pull that paper really, really tight, and then you shouldn't have any problems. If you decide to wrap the heat tape around, like in the middle of the tumbler, if you aren't comfortable with just the seam and the top and the bottom, if you want to wrap it around, you want to make sure that you turn that tumbler every minute and a half, 2 minutes. You want to rotate it in the oven, because otherwise you're going to get spirals on your design or lines or whatever. So that's why I just do the seam, the top, and the bottom. That way I'm not getting, because you're going to get more pressure on the areas where you put the tape than you are where there's no tape. So make sure if you tape in the middle that you rotate your tumbler in the oven every couple of minutes or so. And like I said, I've seen videos also where people are leaving their tumblers in there for very, very long amounts of time, like 10 minutes. You do not need 10 minutes. If it hasn't sublimated within 5 to 7 minutes, you've probably done something wrong. And so you've seen I left, mine was 375 for 5 minutes, and it turned out perfect. And again, I'm using a KitchenAid convection toaster oven. If you do use a regular toaster oven, you have to turn your cup in the oven every minute or two, because what happens in a regular toaster oven, it is not convection. So the heat is only going top and bottom. You're not getting the side heat. And so you want to rotate so that your sides are getting the correct amount of heat. Also, the convection oven, it heats around, it pushes that heat around the whole area. And so that's why you can just stick it in there and leave it and let the timer go. So there's a few more tips that I've also learned. And I want to say that's it, guys. If I think of anything else, I'll get back on here, let you know, demonstrate whatever I need to do, and we'll be good to go. But again, if you have any tips for me, I more than appreciate it. And I think that's it. So everyone have a wonderful day. I appreciate everyone that watched. And I hope that this video was very informative. I'm trying to get my style back. I don't even know what to call it. I'm trying to be more descriptive and not just, oh, this is how you do it. I want to describe everything, and I want to break it down, and I'm trying to get back in on this. Hopefully I will be on a better schedule next week. I'm trying to get all that together for scheduling and everything. And I'm hoping to choose Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday to do my lives every week. And and you may see the same method over and over again, but we'll see. Just, I like doing my orders with everybody so that you can see how I do what I do. And again, I don't like to waste material, so this was a special case. I don't like to just do cups just for the sake of a video, because to me, that's wasteful. And I'm not planned, and I don't really know what I want going on in my head and all of that. But when I have an order and someone comes to me and they say, I want this, 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 and this, I get a plan in my head and I know how to execute it. And so I'm a little bit more prepared when I do my lives. And again, like I said, it's kind of a waste of money to me just to pull out a tumbler for a video, unless there is something specific that I have in mind to show you guys, just like this. I don't have a lot of men's tumblers yet. I'm hoping to get some. Because men don't like the glitters. Usually they don't like the mica powders. They don't like, a lot of all of that. And so hopefully even with this method, I can get a lot of men's cups out and ready. So I say it. I think that's it. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and hopefully I will see you guys with a better schedule, better attitude, all of that next week. So have a good weekend. I know I will, and see you next week.